Hi, welcome to Mystery Box. Hiccup is a young Viking who lives on the island of Berk. Unlike all the other members of his tribe, the boy cannot hunt dragons, and is looked down upon for it. However, everything changes when he meets the great Night Fury. Today we will recap the story of the 2010 movie How to Train Your Dragon. On the island of Berk, the villagers are under attack from gigantic pests. While most places have rats and mosquitoes, on Berk the big problem is dragons. During the night, in the midst of an attack, Hiccup, the son of Stoic, head of that great tribe of Vikings, goes to Gober's workshop in search of some tool to fight those monsters. However, his friends take care of doing this work. Among them is Astrid, with whom Hiccup is in love. Despite wanting to become a warrior, the boy has no combat skills and can't even lift an axe. As the entire village gathers to fight the dragons, they are surprised by the arrival of the Night Fury, an extremely powerful dragon whose identity no one knows, as he never reveals himself. No Viking has ever been able to eliminate a Night Fury, so Hiccup decides to be the first. He believes that this is the only way to earn his father's respect. The young man takes the weapon he himself designed to the top of the mountain and manages to capture the dragon during an attack. However, before Hiccup can go after his prey, the monstrous nightmare appears before him and starts chasing him with its flames. When the boy was about to be devoured, his father appears and lands a few blows on the dragon's head, which decides to retreat. The creatures steal the herd and leave. Seeing the disaster caused by his son, Stoic orders Hiccup not to get involved in the battles against the dragons, as doing so only disrupts the village. Later, as the village chief meets with other Vikings to devise a plan to invade the dragon's nest, Hiccup sets out into the forest in search of the Night Fury he managed to capture. After several hours, he finds the creature's trail. In a few meters ahead, he finds the animal passed out. The young Viking picks up his dagger and walks carefully towards the enemy. As he approaches, the dragon wakes up and looks at him. Despite wanting very much to make his father proud, Hiccup is unable to eliminate the animal. Instead, he decides to cut the bonds that held him and set him free. Realizing that he is free, the dragon lunges for the boy, but decides to spare his life as an act of gratitude. After that, the Night Fury leaves and Hiccup returns to his village. When he meets his father, he informs him that he no longer wants to fight dragons. However, Stoic does not approve of the boy's decision, and after handing him an axe, informs him that his training to learn to fight dragons begins the next morning. So, as agreed the other day, the boy meets with the other young people in the village for his first class. Gober decides to go straight to practice and frees a grunkle to attack them. After picking up their shields and weapons, the group must survive 6 attacks from that creature. However, they are defeated one by one until only Hiccup and Astrid are left on the battlefield. In a moment of distraction, the boy is cornered, and just as he was about to be set on fire, Gober captures the monster and sends it back to the cage. Later that day, Hiccup returns to the location where he found the Night Fury, and to his surprise finds that the dragon is still trapped there. Despite being freed from the bonds, he was unable to fly, as his tail was damaged in the fall. Minutes later, the animal notices its presence, and Hiccup decides to leave that night. During a storm, he studies the Book of Dragons, which contains all the information collected about every dragon that has ever been seen. However, when the boy finds the page where the information about the Night Fury should be, he realizes that the space is blank, as no animal of this class has been catalogued across the ocean. Stoic and his men approach the dragon's nest. His plan is to attack the place so that those animals feel threatened and leave for another location. That morning, Hiccup and his colleagues must survive the attack of a deadly natter who is chasing him. During training, Fishlegs tries to use his vast knowledge of dragons to defeat that beast, but the brothers Roughnut and Toughnut are more concerned with fighting each other than surviving the monster's attack. Snotlout tries to impress Astrid with his combat skill, but ends up putting both of them in danger. While trying to escape, Astrid ends up falling on top of Hiccup. The dragon is preparing to make the final attack, but the young woman manages to grab the axe in time to defend herself. She lands a blow on the creature and manages to push it away. At the end of the training, Hiccup goes again to the place where the Night Fury is, and this time brings him a meal. Hungry, the dry dragon appears in front of him and opens its mouth to eat the fish. The boy realizes that the animal is toothless, but is surprised to see its teeth being exposed to devour the food. After feeding, the dragon approaches and expels half of the fish in Hiccup's lap so that he can also eat. To appear friendly, Hiccup struggles to swallow a piece of the fish and tries to get closer to the animal. The creature is scared and runs away from him, but the boy doesn't give up. He approaches the beast and notices that its tail is badly bruised. Hours later, the young man is still there. While drawing on the ground with a stick, the Night Fury approaches. him with a tree trunk and begins to do the same. Hiccup walks under the drawing, and manages to approach the dragon for a few seconds until it leaves. That night, Hiccup gathers with Gober and his colleagues around a campfire and as thoughtful as he listens to his tutor, telling him about the dragons he has faced. According to him, all dragons are merciless beasts that need to be slaughtered, but Hiccup disagrees. At that time the boy decides to leave the place, and goes to the workshop where he starts working on a prosthesis for his new friend. He spends all night crafting what would be the missing other half of the Night Fury's tail. It is already very early when he returns to feed the dragon, while the animal is eating. The young man takes the opportunity to install the prosthesis. At that moment the Night Fury tries to take flight, but Hiccup is still clinging to its tail. The boy holds the equipment so that it stays open and the dragon is able to fly perfectly. Seeing that it could fly away, the animal decides to get rid of the human, throwing it into the river. As a result, the equipment closes and the Night Fury is no longer able to fly back. In the village, Hiccup and his partners advance their training and now have to face off against the Barf and Belch. This dragon has two heads, one of which releases the gas and the other ignites the spark that gives rise to the flames. To stop the attack, Hiccup needs to wet the head that gives off the spark so the animal won't be able to set him on fire. However, as he is very short, the boy misses the target, and just as he is about to be attacked, he decides to use his last resort, trying to tame the dragon alone and unarmed. Him manages to get the animal back into its cage, causing Gober and his companions to shiver. After that he goes back to the workshop and works on a way to improve the prosthesis he designed. After testing it on the Night Fury, he realizes that the prototype isn't perfect yet, so he continues working on it. The duo makes another attempt but ends up falling on a lawn, and Hiccup discovers the dragon weed. He uses that plant to calm the animals during training and little by little manages to tame them. Every time he meets Toothless, the boy learns more about dragons, and his discoveries start to make the warriors of his village curious. Astrid is the only one who doesn't recognize the boy's talents, as she believes that brute force is the best way to deal with animals. One day while training in the forest, she spots Hiccup and decide follow him. However, the boy manages to lose her. They continue the tests and the boy realizes that the prosthesis he made is almost ready. Just a few adjustments are needed. After days of travel, Stoic and his men return to Berk. The tribal chief informs them that their mission has been a huge failure. As the Manla events, Gober informs him that Hiccup has become a celebrity in the village and his father can't believe it. At the moment the boy is with Toothless, and both are training to fly with the updated version of the prosthesis, developed by Hiccup. However, while flying, the boy ends up letting go of his friend's back and they both fall as Toothless is not able to adjust the equipment himself. As they are about to collide, Hiccup manages to get back onto the animal's back and they manage to recover. Their mutual trust allows them to traverse a labyrinth of rocks, and to celebrate, Toothless unleashes one of his energy blasts. When they stop to rest, many dragons appear to eat, but the Night Fury is unwilling to share his fish with them. However, Hiccup decides to feed one of those animals and ends up befriending it. In that instant he realizes that everything the Vikings know about dragon behavior was wrong. That night Stoic shows up by surprise to talk to Hiccup. The man congratulates his son on his performance with the dragons, and states that he will be an excellent hunter. He then gives the boy a Viking hat and asks him to wear it when he is in the arena at his father's request. Hiccup wears the hat during his battle against a Grunkle. Astrid orders the young man to step aside as he wants to win the competition. However, when she prepares to attack the animal, Hiccup has already managed to knock him down, scratching his head. Therefore the crone gives him the title of winner of that duel. Now the next step he will have to go through before becoming a real Viking is to eliminate a dragon unhappy to live together with people who have values totally opposite to his own. Hiccup packs his bags and goes to find Toothless. He plans to leave with his friend, but Astrid shows up to derail his plans. She orders the boy to tell his secret and reveal how he got so good at dealing with dragons. Furious at having lost the duel, the girl attacks Hiccup and Toothless goes to help him. Seeing the dragon, Astrid tries to eliminate it but is stopped by the boy. Seconds later he manages to calm his friend down. The young woman tries to run away, but the duo goes after her and takes her for a ride. Toothless leaves the girl hanging from a tree branch and Hiccup asks her for a chance to explain himself. He lets Astrid hop on the dragon and takes her for a ride. They fly so high they can even touch the clouds, and Astrid is amazed at what she sees. Suddenly several dragons appear beside them and Toothless starts following them. Minutes later they enter a cave and watch the animals drop their prey into a large chasm. However, a Gronko that ended up eating his offering only throws a piece into the hole. At That same instant a monstrous and gigantic dragon rises from the bottom of the cave and devours him. Upon seeing the humans the monster tries to devour Toothless, and all the dragons leave the cave in despair. When they return to the island, Astrid intends to tell Stoic that the reason the dragons are stealing all the food is because they are forced to feed the queen, otherwise they are devoured. However, Hiccup tries to stop her and claims that if they know about Toothless, his friend's life will be at risk. The young man asks for a day to think about what to do, and Astrid says goodbye to him before returning to the village. The next morning Hiccup must take the final test to officially become a Viking. In this decisive test he will need to eliminate dragon. Upon entering the arena, the boy takes out his shield. In a dagger, his opponent is the bloodthirsty monstrous nightmare, which covers his entire body in fire. When ready to attack, the dragon approaches, and Hiccup unleashes all of his weapon. He tries to calm the dragon and is about to befriend him, but Stoich starts yelling at his son and the creature is scared. Monstrous nightmare begins chasing the young man, and miles away Toothless hears his friend screams. The night fury climbs the valley and runs through the forest while Astrid enters the arena to help the boy. Stoic opens the gate so they can escape, but the dragon corners Hiccup. Luckily Toothless appears just in time, and after destroying the bars enters the ring and attacks the other dragon to protect the boy. The monstrous nightmare returns to the cage, but the Vikings race to capture the night fury. Hiccup tries to stop them, but Toothless ends up being captured. Stoic goes to talk to his son and says he felt betrayed as the dragons have already eliminated hundreds of Vikings. Then Hiccup recalls that his people have also eliminated thousands of dragons, and those animals attack them only to defend themselves. He also says that dragons steal because they are forced to bring a lot of food to their queen, otherwise they are devoured. Upon discovering that the night fury has taken his son to the dragon's nest, Stoich decides to use him as a compass to find and invade the place. Hiccup tries to stop him, but his father completely ignores him. That same day an expedition of ships departs the island, forcibly using Toothless as a guide to show the way. While talking to Astrid, Hiccup hatches a plan to rescue his friend. He goes to the dragon's cages and intends to ride one of them in order to reach the ships. His colleagues appear shortly thereafter as they wish to join him on this quest. The first to be tamed as the monstrous nightmare, who sympathizes with Snotlab. Then the other dragons appear and are ready to help. Meanwhile the Vikings are already approaching the nest and find wrecked vessels on all sides. They land on the island and soon dig a hole to break into the cave. The place is full of dragons, who flee in despair as soon as the invasion begins. Immediately Gab announces victory, but Stoic realizes that Toothless is very scared and understands that the battle has just begun. Suddenly they hear a loud roar coming from the back of the cave, and the queen appears. The catapults don't even tickle that monster, so the Vikings have to flee to the ships. However, the dragon is determined to eliminate them and sets fire to the ships to prevent his enemies from fleeing. As Stoic and his men tried to survive the attack, Toothless tries to flee the burning ship but is barely able to move. To increase the remaining warriors' chances of survival, Gober and the tribe's chief team up to get the monster's attention while the rest try to escape. When the fight was almost lost, Hiccup and his friends appear mounted on their dragons. The boy devises a plan of action so that his colleagues can distract the creature while he and Astrid go after Toothless. When he finds his friend, he asks the girl to go help the others while he finds a way to save his dragon. However, the unexpected happens, and while trying to get rid of those annoying youngsters, the queen ends up destroying the vessel, causing Toothless and Hiccup to fall into the water. The dragon is still trapped and sinks without being able to save itself, so Hiccup immediately goes after it. He tries to rip off his friend's chains but ends up losing his breath and nearly passing out. At that moment his father appears and pulls him out of the water. Then Stoic jumps back into the ocean and frees Toothless. The dragon pulls the man out of the water and calls Hiccup into battle. Both team up to defeat that monster, but before they can take flight, Stoic approaches his son and asks for forgiveness for not having trusted him from the beginning. Astrid and her dragon were about to be devoured, but Toothless launches his powerful bolt into the creature's mouth and manages to save them. With the impact, the girl ends up falling but is saved by the animal. Now the duo must find a way to defeat that monster. They take down the creature, which immediately spreads its wings and flies after them. Toothless lures him away and Hiccup guides his friend up above the clouds. The night fury launches its most powerful attacks against the enemy, and the Vikings are amazed at its power to defend herself. The queen sets fire to everything around her and the Toothless prosthesis goes up in flames. The pair need to make one last attack as they know that soon they will no longer be able to fly. They start to lose altitude and wait for the monster to chase them when the creature releases the gas to ignite them. Hiccup asks Toothless to launch his bolt into that monster's mouth and the creature's body goes up in flames. Severely injured, the queen is no longer able to fly and crashes into the island, causing a massive explosion. While trying to escape the fire, Toothless loses his prosthesis and can no longer fly. The animal crashes into a rock and Hiccup breaks free. The dragon then dives into the flames to save him, and they both crash on the island. Stoic runs after them and finally manages to find Toothless amid the soot. Seeing that his son is not there, the man believes he has died. Stoico regrets what he did and asks Toothless for forgiveness. At that moment the animal lifts one of its wings and reveals that it managed to save its friend. Thanks to him, the boy was still alive. Days later, Hiccup wakes up and Toothless is by his side. The boy can't believe he's at his house and worries that his father will find Toothless there. Hiccup gets up and is saddened to realize that he lost part of his left leg during the fall. Toothless helps him to walk to the door, and when opening it the boy is faced with the monstrous nightmare. He is scared and asks his friend to hide. However, upon opening the door again, Hiccup could hardly believe his eyes. Vikings and dragons were living together as a family. For a few seconds he believes he is dead, but his father soon appears at his side and Hiccup realizes that in fact he managed to end a rivalry that had lasted for thousands of years. Seeing the boy awake, the whole village rejoices and Governor talks about the prosthesis he made for him. Now Hiccup looked like a real Viking, battle scarred. Then Astrid appears and kisses the boy. Gobber hands him the new prosthesis he made for Toothless, and the two friends prepare to fly together again. However, now they are not alone. That was just the beginning of a long friendship between beasts and humans. Elsewhere, Vikings have birds and ponies as pets, but on Berk, warriors have dragons. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you liked the video please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.